Your tomato plant has been trying to tell you something all season. The leaves going pale from the bottom up, the oldest ones first. The flowers that opened last week dropping to the ground without a single fruit starting behind them. The stems that should be adding growth every week, sitting still, using what the plant has left just to stay standing. It is not giving up. It is starving. And what it is starving for has been passing through your kitchen every single morning. Not fertilizer, not something you buy. The onion skin you peeled off before last night's soup. The banana peel from this morning's breakfast.
The cloudy water you poured down the drain after rinsing the rice? That is what your plant has been asking for. My name is Elias. I am Amish. My family has farmed Lancaster County ground since 1838, and I have fed this garden from the kitchen and the barn for 31 years, without buying a bag of fertilizer in all that time. Today, I am going to show you 5 things your plants have been reaching for, what each one does, and the one step most people skip that keeps these from working the way they should.
But the dry, papery layers that come off before the onion ever reaches the knife carry more potassium, calcium, and magnesium than the white flesh underneath. The part that goes in the bin has more of what a plant needs than the part that goes in the soup. My grandmother knew this. She never put those skins in the compost. Any color and any kind, red or yellow or white, whatever had come through the kitchen that week. She dropped them into a jar of cool water and left it on the windowsill for 2 days. The water went from clear to the color of weak tea by the end of the first day and deepened by the second.
And she poured that water straight onto the soil around the tomato plants, the pepper plants, whatever looked like it needed the most help that week. The reason it works faster than burying the skins in the soil is the water itself. Water pulls the minerals out of the dry plant tissue the same way it draws flavor out of a tea bag. Once dissolved, they are already in a form a root can take up immediately. A handful of skins, any amount. Drop them into a quart jar, cover with cool water from the tap. Leave the jar on the windowsill. Come back in 2 days. Pour it undiluted at the base of the plant, out at the drip line where the feeding roots are reaching, not against the stem.
The skins from 2 or 3 onions give you enough for several plants, and the jar can be refilled and re-steeped once before the skins have given up what they have to give. Now, when most people try this and give up, they almost always give up for the same reason. Not because the method is wrong, because they left out one ingredient. And without it, the whole thing moves too slowly to convince anyone it is doing anything at all. The ingredients come out of a kitchen every morning. Banana peels, the darker and riper the better, because more of the potassium has moved into the skin by then. Used coffee grounds from the filter basket. And 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses, the dark, almost bitter kind, not the regular table variety that goes on biscuits. The banana peel carries potassium, the mineral that moves sugars from the leaf down into the developing fruit. The coffee grounds add nitrogen slowly and improve the texture of the soil around the root. Both of those things matter. But without the molasses, what you have is a mixture that takes 3 weeks to release much of anything. The molasses feeds the bacteria in the water. Those bacteria get to work on the peels and the grounds far faster than water alone ever would. Without the molasses, what you have releases slowly over several weeks, long enough that most people give up on it before it has had a chance to do anything. With the molasses in, the same brew is ready to use in 3 to 5 days. That 1 tablespoon is the difference between a remedy that finishes by the time the season is already over and one that finishes while the plant still has weeks ahead of it. Take 3 or 4 banana peels, chopped roughly, 2 or 3 tablespoons of used coffee grounds, and 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses. Put all of it into a gallon of warm water in a covered bucket. Leave it 3 to 5 days. Strain it through an old cloth. Dilute 1 part brew to 3 parts plain water and pour at the drip line every 2 weeks through the season. Most households that cook rice pour the rinse water straight down the drain. That cloudy water carries starches from the surface of the grain. Fresh off the pot, it is already mildly useful poured on the soil rather than down the drain. But what happens to that same water if you put it in a jar,
cover it loosely, and leave it on the counter for 3 to 5 days is something else entirely.
By day 3, it carries a faint sour smell, like the beginning of sourdough. That smell is not a sign the water has gone bad. It is the signal it is ready. The bacteria and wild yeasts already living in the liquid have woken up and multiplied, feeding on the starches. When you pour this fermented water onto the soil, diluted at 1 part to 10 parts plain water, those microbes go to work in the root zone. This one does not feed the plant directly. It feeds the living system around the plant that does the actual feeding. A bag of fertilizer feeds what is above the soil. This builds what is underneath it. And what is underneath is what determines what the garden can do for the next 5 seasons, not just the next 5 weeks. I noticed this myself after the first 2 summers of using it. The beds that received the rice water regularly did not just grow better that year, they grew better the year after, without any more rice water, because the ground itself had changed underneath them. The mistake nearly every first-time user makes is skipping the fermentation. Fresh rice water is mild. Fermented is what changes the soil. If the liquid does not carry that faint sour smell after a few days, leave it another day. Every refrigerator has a corner where something went wrong. The tomato that bruised and got pushed to the back, the cucumber that softened before anyone used it, the lettuce that wilted before the week was out. Most of that produce ends up in the trash, and the nitrogen locked inside it goes with it. Take whatever vegetable scraps are on hand, overripe tomatoes, wilted greens, soft cucumbers, old peppers, crush or chop them to break the cells open. Put them in a 5-gallon bucket. Cover with water. Weigh them down with a plate so they stay submerged, and leave the bucket in the open air for 2 weeks. What happens in those 2 weeks is that bacteria in the water break down the plant cells and pull the nitrogen locked inside the tissue out into the liquid. Results come on within a week or 2 of applying. The finished liquid is strong, diluted at 1 part to 30 parts plain water before any of it goes near the garden. Never on the leaves, only at the root zone, poured in the cool of morning or evening. At that dilution and in those conditions, it does what a $14 bag of nitrogen fertilizer does, and it costs nothing beyond what was already on its way to the trash. Now, the last of the 5. This one comes from the barn. Old-time farmers called it manure tea, and the name is exactly right. Take a shovel full of aged, dried manure from chickens, cows, or rabbits. Put it into something that breathes. A burlap feed sack, an old cotton pillowcase, a mesh laundry bag. Drop it into a 5-gallon bucket of clean water. Leave it 3 to 5 days. The water goes the color of strong iced tea. That color is everything your plant needs at once. Chicken manure is the strongest, highest in nitrogen, quickest to push a tired plant back into growth. Properly diluted chicken tea poured at the base of a struggling tomato will show new growth within a week or 2. Cow manure is steadier and slower, better for building the soil long-term. Rabbit manure is the gentlest, and the one I reach for around young seedlings, mild enough that it will not burn even tender roots. The one thing that ruins more manure tea attempts than anything else is using it fresh. Fresh droppings carry too much ammonia and will scorch a garden bed before they feed it. The manure must be aged at least 6 months. Dried out, no longer sharp in the smell. There is no shortcut on this. Once the tea is ready, dilute to the color of weak iced tea, 1 part tea to 10 parts plain water. A plain word about why none of these 5 things is widely taught. A bag of synthetic fertilizer runs $12 to $14. You apply it, the plant takes what it needs, and after a few weeks, the feeding is done. The soil is no richer for having received it. Over years of this kind of feeding, the living part of the soil, the microbial life that does the real work of carrying nutrients to the root, begins to thin and die back. So the following season, the plant needs the bag again. The onion skins in your bin carry more potassium than a tablespoon of any blue powder in a foil bag. The rinse water from a pot of rice, given 3 days on the counter, builds the soil life that the synthetic fertilizer has been spending down. There is no scheme behind why this knowledge has faded. There is simply no profit in a banana peel. Here is the honest picture. These 5 methods work, and I have watched them work on this ground for more than 3 decades. But they work at different speeds, and the right one depends on what the plant is actually missing. A plant going yellow from the bottom up needs nitrogen. The scrap digestate or the manure tea is what addresses it. A plant with thin-walled fruit, light in the hand, needs potassium. The banana brew or the onion peel tea gets there faster. A soil that has gone flat and lifeless underneath responds best to the fermented rice water worked in over time. Here is what I would do starting today. Look at what is in the bin right now. If there are onion skins, drop them in a jar of water and set it on the windowsill. If there are banana peels and used coffee grounds, start the brew with a tablespoon of molasses. Tell me in the comments what state you are in and what your plant has been doing this season.